Man, there's nothing better than a man that smells good every day. Ladies, you know. You know. Fellas, when you take care of yourself, worry about your hygiene, and put that thing on every day, you're a keeper. So with that said, here's some fragrances that I think smell amazing for everyday purposes. But you gotta come back. You gotta come back. I can't tell you if you don't come back. You know the drill. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another video of Smell Good with Jenna. I'm, of course, Jenna. Thank you so much for stopping by. You know what you got to do. It's not like I sung that. You know what you got to do. Like, comment, follow, subscribe, the whole nine, and let's get right into it. First up on my list, we have Mancera, Cedrat, Boise. Now, let me know if the comments am pronouncing it right. I've heard numerous variations on how to say this. I don't know. Let me know if I'm pronouncing it right. But first up on my list is, like I said, Cedrat Boise. And for time purposes, I'm going to talk about both the intense version and the OG version. I love this fragrance. I've seen reviews in the past stating that they can see this reminds them of Aventus, Creed's Aventus. I can see that with the pineapple citrusy opening, but I think this is completely different and also significantly cheaper, so that's another thing. But it's you can't go wrong with both. Like I said, for time purposes, I'm going to discuss both just because the intense version is just intense. The notes are amped up a little bit. I can see that maybe if you're the type of person that needed to have both, I can see maybe with the intense version that you would wear this more so in cooler weather just because of the woodier notes. This is the intense version, by the way. I got my decants this is from Scent Split, so certain bottles I don't have, that's not in my possession, so I got the decant so I can sniff it with you guys. This is so beautiful. It's an easy reach fragrance. Like I said, both of them, specifically the OG, you can wear it in any season. You have spicy notes, you have fruity notes, citrus, woodsy. It's just absolutely gorgeous. Man, this smells like a man.
No woman, it's a man.
I'm just saying, it smells like a man. But yeah, that's honestly the difference. They're both everyday scents. You don't need both. If like I said, to make the distinction, the intense is probably a little bit more darker, a little bit woodsier, but you can't go over either one, and it just ultimately comes down to preference and what you're willing to spend. So yeah, that's Mancera, Cedrat, Boise. So next up on my list, we have Parfum de Marly's Percival. So, not a spoiler alert, but here's a fun fact about me, rather. I cannot stand YSL's Y. I think I mentioned that in a previous video and prefer other YSL scents, but I cannot stand anything that YSL Y has to offer. The Parfum version, EDT, whatever the case might be, I cannot stand that. But honestly, I can't even really stand shower type scents. So in comes Parfum de Marly's Percival, and I love it. Now, I understand with the price tag, it's over $300. So one, especially someone starting out in their collection, someone that's young, might gravitate to something that's like YSL's Y, just because it's readily more accessible and what have you. But I find Parfum de Marly's Percival is what YSL tried to accomplish when formulating this type of fragrance. It came off more redefined, more. It's smoother. It's not heavy. It just blended extremely well. Yeah, this is. I think this is absolutely beautiful. It's just that scent profile isn't too much, like how I find YSL's Y can be. But it's versatile. I think this could be a signature scent. I think, not for nothing, I think this could be Parfum de Marly's most versatile scent, that you honestly, you can wear it in any type of season. It has bergamot, it has lavender. It's beautiful. If I mentioned already, it's sophisticated, it's smooth. You know, I'm not a niche snob, but in this case, you can smell the difference of actually having a niche brand fragrance compared to a designer. I think there's just more time and effort placed into this than what you would get for YSLY. But no, I'm not knocking anybody that loves that type of fragrance. So definitely, if you haven't already, check out Parfum de Marly's Percival. Next up on my list, we have Mason Francis Kirkpatrick's Gentle Fluidity Silver. In my video for women everyday scents that I did a month or so ago, this was the same exact fragrance that I mentioned, but the gold version. It's one of my favorite fragrances that I own. I have to get the bigger bottle, but I love that fragrance. So it's not a brainer. Not a brainer, or it's a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer that I add the silver version on this list for men. And the same thing applies. It's funny, it has the same notes, but it's completely different. It's just, fragrances is fascinating, right? You can have the similar notes or different notes, and it might smell the same as something, or it might completely change the DNA of the fragrance. But it's a beautiful scent. It's very subtle, so don't expect a beast mode. It wears very close to the skin, but it has juniper berries, vanilla, woodsy notes, musk, and like I said, it's hence the name, gentle fluidity. So it's not going to be something that's just going to be in your face, but just hugs very nicely to the skin. And it's clean, it's fresh, and I find it to be very uplifting, similar to the gold version. So maybe it may not be something you wear, I don't know, like in the bitter cold, but definitely through the most part of the year, you can definitely pull this off. Beautiful, beautiful scent. That's Mason Francis Kirkpatrick's Gentle Fluidity Silver. Next up on my list, we have Armani's Acqua di Gio Parfum. I mentioned this in my previous men's spring fragrance video. If you haven't checked that out, check it out, even though we're into summer. But nonetheless, I know this fragrance has 255 million variations, but it just shows that it stands the test of time. This is an easy wear fragrance, something that you literally can just pick up and go. You don't have to think and do too much. That's ultimately the case with all the variations of this particular fragrance. One might be a little bit cleaner or a little bit more aquatic or what have you, but you get ultimately the same thing. I think this is a perfect fragrance. If you're starting out in your cologne fragrance bag and you don't know where to start, I think that's a great first pickup to start your fragrance starter kit ultimately. You don't want to break the bank, definitely check out Armani's Acqua di Gio Parfum. Next up on my list, we have Burberry Touch. This is actually a nod to my boyfriend, so shout out to my boyfriend, my man. But he's always talking about how he has to re-up on Burberry Touch. By the way, not only did I get some of get in my mouth. I got my decants from Scent Split, but I also got it from Scent Decant. So there's numerous of places you can find decants of a lot of these fragrances. But yeah, he's always mentioning about re-upping on Burberry Touch. So I wanted to include that because although this is an extremely old fragrance, I believe this came out in 2000. I was 10 years old when this came out. But again, like I mentioned with Acqua di Gio, there's just certain fragrances that stand the test of time, doesn't smell dated. And this is another one. This is extremely cheap. So again, I'm giving you variety, folks, right? So you have your niche fragrances, but if you're just starting out, or you again, it's an everyday scent, so you don't want to break the bank. These fragrances, you can find some for at minimum, what, $30 or so, or 30 to under 100, somewhere under 100. You can't go wrong with prices like that. But it's a cheap one, but it's still good. It's clean, fresh, soapy. You know, something you can throw on heading into the office, going to the gym, running errands. It fits any type of situation. It's very versatile, and yeah, again, another fragrance that's a no-brainer. So that is Burberry Touch. Next up on my list, this is probably a fragrance that's probably on the very top, or near the very top at least, of this list, but that's Versace Pour Homme. I love this. This is another one of the cheaper fragrances that are on this list. So again, another fragrance that is good for a starter kit. But I'm probably going to mention this in quite a few videos, but it's a burst of citrus. It's aromatic, and I find it has a pinch. Don't take this offense, fellas. I don't know how you feel about calling something feminine or whatever, but I find that there's a hint of femininity when it comes to this fragrance, or softness rather. Let's go with softness. And by the way, just a disclaimer, if you will, just because this is targeted more for men, I understand that, we can wear whatever. There's some women that like heavier fragrances or in their mask energy bag. So this is for everyone, but I geared specifically to men, but for everyone, like I said. So going back to this, I find there's, like I said, a hint of softness. I don't know why I couldn't get that out, but there is a hint of softness when it comes to, I believe, the rose note that's in here. And it's another great pickup. So again, you want to break the bank, I'm giving you options, baby. I'm giving you options. That's Versace's Pour Homme. Listen, if you don't pay attention to any other fragrance that I mentioned on this list, do yourself a favor and check out Xerjoff Naxos. Like, I don't even know if I'm pronouncing it properly. My New York accent, my apologies. But I love this fragrance. I think, honestly, I could potentially pull this off. It is a unisex fragrance. I find it's a little more masculine leaning, but I still think this is something that I could potentially dabble in. It has all the notes that I truly adore, minus like orange blossom, but this is so, so good. This is a true definition of what an everyday scent should be. It captures all the different notes that you would wear in different seasons, such as like the citrus notes for the warmer weather, and then you have honey, vanilla, and cinnamon for the cooler weather. Fellas, I'm telling you, if you're, the other fragrances that I mentioned were probably on the lighter side. Maybe you might not necessarily completely stand out, but this one right here, it leaves a lasting impression. It leaves a trail, and if you're into that, definitely check this out. I know this is, the price range just went up. I was talking about something that's $30 to something that that's what, I forget retail, if retail's a 200 or 300, but definitely it's in that price range unless you find it at a discounter for slightly cheaper. But you had your starter kit fragrances. Now you're like, what, I want to make an impression. I want to stand out a little bit. Xerjoff Naxos is the way to go. Thank me later. We can stop the video here right now. Right now, we can stop it. Like, just, mic drop. But we're not going to stop the video right here. Xerjoff Naxos. Lastly on my list, I may sound like an absolute hypocrite when it comes to this, but, hey, out of the three, Sauvage, Y, and Bleu de Chanel, I think this is my favorite one. And plus, there's sentimental memories when it comes to this one. So, sue me. But I know I said I'm not a big fan of that blue shower type of scent, but out of the three, I think this is the best one. I think it's the most mature one. It also reminds me of like when I mentioned in my previous video about that clean, soapy fragrance scent profile, where a lot of people like Dior Home Sport, but Chanel Allure Home Sport I prefer more, just because there's an added sweetness to it. This is the same thing when it comes to Bleu de Chanel Parfum. There's that added sweetness that I think I enjoy, and that makes it ultimately the more the deciding factor. So yeah, it's a good one. It's a good one. Again, another scent that can be part of your starter kit when it comes to your fragrance journey. And hey, it might be viewed as basic, but it's iconic, right? So things that are popular and everyone gravitates to tends to be viewed as basic. So clearly I'm not a snob when it comes to things that might be quote unquote basic. If it smells good, it smells good. And obviously it's popular for a reason. So I would definitely check that out in regards to an everyday scent. That's Bleu de Chanel Parfum. And that's my video. Thank you so much for stopping by and watching. You know what you got to do. Like, comment, follow, subscribe. I know there's so many different fragrances that are still out there. Some that I personally enjoy too, that could have been mentioned on this list. But obviously for time constraints and just throwing some of the ones that I enjoy, that's what we got. Let me know though what you like to wear every day, something that I should check out. Maybe I haven't smelled it before, whatever the case might be, but definitely let me know. And always remember, the best compliment one can get is that you smell so good.